everybody, it's Gina and welcome back to the Library Mouse. It is great to be here as always. I thought that I would do a tag that I needed to do. See, I'm so organized. I just write my tags on random pieces of paper and then I write do on the top of them. So I know I still have to do this one and then I throw it away. So anyway, the tag that I want to do today is the Don't Forget About Me tag. And it was created by Jolene at Bookworm Adventure Girl, which I think is a really cool name of a channel. And I was tagged by Gavin at genrebooks. And I've been trying to get online. I want to access my Goodreads in order to remember some of the books because some of them I don't remember. And the first question was a book you've read but don't remember. The trouble is I don't remember what I don't remember. So anyway, let me see if there's some that I can do. A book you wish that you could forget is one of the questions. And I don't know. There's some books that affected me that I wish I could maybe forget that I read them. So any book where the animal died, I wish that I could forget Old Yeller and The Yearling ripped me apart. As a child, I wish that I had never read them. I wish the teacher had not read them out loud. They scarred me. So those two books especially. And then having the movie, reading the movie. I remember the book Sounder. Sounder, once again, the dog died. And that book, I wish that I hadn't read. The trouble was, in so many of them, innocently, I would start reading them and be enjoying the book, and then the animal is killed or dies, and then I just sob and sob. And I don't like books like that, and I still don't like books like that to this day. So if I know that there is an animal in the book, I generally Google to see if the animal died. And that being said, there actually is a website that, hang on, I'm going to find it. Okay, so actually the website is very simple to remember. It's doesthedogdie.com. And this is the best site for people like me who do not want to watch or read anything where the animal dies. So you can go through, and it's a crowdsourced site, and you can go down the top 10 movies where the dog doesn't die. And then you can look up a movie. Like you can search up here and you can put in the name of the book or the name of the movie, and it will tell you whether the dog dies or not. But it is such a good website for people like me. So if that is you, now they have other things about other triggers. Let's get that out of there. So animal triggers. Yeah, anything you might be triggered about, which I did not know. I'm just discovering this. I thought it was just about books and movies where the dog doesn't die, but this is a great website if you definitely don't want to read books that have certain themes in them. Okay, so I did get on my Goodreads and I scrolled through some of my old books, and this book I don't remember at all, which is funny because it seems like a book that I would remember. I generally like books by Anne Hood, but the book that I can't remember anything about is a book called The Book That Matters Most. Isn't that ironic? So it is a book by Anne Hood, and I'll quickly I'll read you the Goodreads summary. So Ava's 25-year marriage is falling apart. Her 2 grown children are pursuing their own lives across the country, and so Ava joins a book group for her love of reading, but also for companionship. So the goal throughout the year is for each member to present the book that matters the most to them. So I think that's a really cool idea. I would love to see what people's answers are to that question down below. Like, what book matters the most to you? So Ava rediscovers a mysterious book from her childhood that helped her through the traumas of the deaths of her mom and her sister. And so it's Ava's story, and then alternating with that is the story of her daughter, Maggie, who descends into a destructive relationship with an older man. And Ava's mission is to find that book. And it takes her on a quest that unravels the secrets of her past and offers her and Maggie the chance to remake their lives. It sounds like a really good book. I don't know why I don't remember it. It looks like I gave it 4 stars, so I don't know. But I might check it out again. But that is a book that I do not remember reading that I read. I mean, nothing is ringing a bell with this book. Because as I look through the other ones, I do kind of remember some of them. Nope, I kind of remember that book. So yeah, I'm picking that book. The book that matters the most is the book that I can't remember. All right, so the next one is a book that I think needs more love. Okay, hang on. All right, I'm just going to go through, and I'm looking at my Goodreads and just going through some books that I've never talked about, but that I really, really enjoyed at the time of reading them. And there are books maybe that you haven't heard of. Like I said, I sometimes don't read really trendy books. So the first book that I really, really enjoyed that I will remember, this book was The Wives of Henry Odes, and it is written by Johanna Morin. So basically it takes place in New Zealand. This man is married. He has 3 children. And he travels a lot, so he's kind of an adventurer. And while he is away on an adventure, the natives in where they live stage an uprising, and his wife and children are kidnapped. So when he comes back home and discovers they are missing, he spends so much time looking for them, trying to find them. He tries until he just decides there's no hope, and so he decides to move to California. And while he's there, he meets and marries someone else and has a family with her. So suddenly, though, in the midst of all this, his first wife returns, and she and the children had managed to escape, and they kind of show up where he's living now. So it is narrated between the 2 wives, and it's based on a real life legal case, because all 3 of them face persecution from bigamy, for bigamy. And it's an interesting book, very interesting. So I would recommend checking that book out. It is The Wives of Henry Odes by Johanna Morin. Good book. Okay, I'm back. It is the next day, but I wanted to finish this tag. And the next was what book needs more love? You feel like it needs more love. I picked an interesting book to me that I did not know about, but I feel like would be good for people to read. So it is called The Danish Girl by David Ebershoff, and it was made into a movie in 2015. The book was written in 2000. I had not watched the movie, although I do think the movie is a good depiction of the book itself. So The Danish Girl is a fictionalized account of a real person named Einar Wagner, who lived in Germany. He was a German painter. He was married to his wife, Gerda Gottlieb, who was also a painter. And one day she asked her husband to sit in for a model that was frequently absent, and she wanted to finish her painting. So she had him put on shoes, stockings, the dress, and after that, he discovered that he enjoyed that quite a bit. And his wife went along with it, and she would dress him up, and they would go about Paris, and she would introduce Einar as Lily, her sister-in-law. And eventually, Einar contemplated suicide, but then decided to go for reassignment surgery. Now, this is in the late 20s that this is happening, which for me, I did not realize that people were having reassignment surgery in the late 20s and the early 30s. I thought it was more fairly modern. So that surprised me. So the book covers their marriage, how their marriage went through the stages of, just this is kind of fun to, oh, this is really happening, and how they all felt about that. Because what do you do when you're in love with someone who wants to change themselves, especially in the 20s and 30s? So eventually their marriage was annulled when Einar went, or Lily went, for her first surgery. She was one of the first people to have it done, and she was on her 5th surgery when an infection caused her to die from a heart attack. But the book itself really, really examines the feelings that come along with this decision and how they, as a couple, had to navigate it. It was very well written, very interesting, and it did remind me of another book that I read called Transistor Radio, which kind of examined the same themes, because the story was about a divorced woman who falls in love with a man named Dana, a fellow teacher, and she's so extremely happy to have found this wonderful person. And then after a bit, he tells her that he wants to transition into a woman. And the book examines, her response, how this affects her, her daughter, even her ex-husband, Dana, and how she has to make a decision. Does she stay? Does she stay, or does she leave? And so they really go nicely together. It's a nice book pairing. I mean, obviously one is a fictionalized account of a true story and one is fiction, but the themes are the same. So, and then if you watch the movie, like I said, was well done also. I don't recall it being drastically different from the book. So I think that is a book that needs a little more love, and it would definitely be an interesting book for more people to read. Yes, day 3, finishing a tag that has not even approximately, It has 4 questions. And it's taken me 3 days. Hence another outfit. Anyway, the question that I forgot is books that I will always remember. So if I always remember them, I should not have to look them up, right? So, off the top of my head, the books that I will always remember are books that I reread and reread and have reread throughout my lifetime. Obviously, the Little House on the Prairie series, never forget those. As a kid, I loved the All the Kind Family series, we'll never forget those. The Orphalines, the Little Orphalines, loved that series as a kid. Little Women, standout book, but I also loved Joe's Boys and Little Men. I read those over and over again. A Lantern in Her Hand as an adult, never forget that book. A book that really touched me, I cried. I cried all the way through, and I knew I was going to cry all the way through. And going back to my other part where I was like, yeah, I'm not reading a book where the dog dies. The Art of Racing in the Rain, I think that's the name of it. Let me look it up really quick. I believe it's The Art of Racing in the Rain. Yes. That book, I have not watched the movie. I can't watch the movie. I know I can't. They're calling it a comedy drama. So it is, I believe it was narrated from the dog's point of view. The ending was so sad, but yet so hopeful too. Just look at, I don't even want to give anything away, but that book really, I just cried and cried and cried and cried all the way through, but I wanted to keep reading it. So that was a book that I will never forget. What other books have I read that, oh, there's a tiny little book called Ho Hum that, it was a little golden book, I believe, when I was a child. And I will never forget it because my mom would read it to us at bedtime. And it's a little boy and he's constantly yawning, going ho hum. So she would read it and she would start yawning. And then my sister and I would be like, yeah, we're not going to yawn this time. And then we would be yawning. So throughout this whole book, we were constantly yawning because the kid in the book was yawning, and then it would be bedtime. But I remember that book so well. Another book that I will always remember because I read it and it was one of the first college essays that I had to do in my literature class. And I had to read this book and I had to write a paper about it. And the professor wrote A++++ on my paper. And I just remember being so thrilled with my first college paper back in the day, you know, where you had to type it. And if you made a mistake, you had to use that little correcting paper that you stick down there. You had to use whiteout. And it took forever to write that paper. But the book was born on the 4th of July. And that book stands out in my head just because it was like a milestone. Like, look, I could read a novel and write a college paper about it that's actually, like, good. And it just gave me a boost of confidence. So those are some books that I will always remember. And finally, I finished the Stay Gold tag. It was a lot of fun, though. I love doing these tags. It gets me thinking about books. More so than I usually do. So, take care, everybody. You'll catch me on my next video. I'm working on a vlog right now, but I do have a couple of more tags I'm going to do my May wrap up and a June TBR. I think I'm going to put those together because I did not meet my goal for May. So I could do a May wrap up and a June TBR all in one video. So I think that's going to be upcoming. So be on the lookout. Thanks for all the engagement, subscribing, likes. It really helps. It's nice to know that other people are out there watching me talk about books. So anyway, have a great day and happy reading.